everybody's logged off after Greg has stopped talking, then Jake can rant to his three
You got
people
a
that
rant
listen.
coming up, Jake?
But yeah, he's the Sonic rant.
Oh, the rant's coming. It's
I don't know.
inevitable.
I'm not feeling ranty today.
I-
I was pretty adamant on the way home. I let Bryant have it a little bit. I let a couple guys have it a little bit.
Dude, I would have come and give you a hug if it was going to be that much.
It's not the lack of hug. It's just like, we got to change the hearts and minds of these freaking anglers, or this sport's just not going to be worth anything anytime soon. So I've got to do it the hard way with some of these knuckleheads. You know what I'm saying?
I do. I do. I've been around a minute. I understand.
Yeah. See, like you're the master. Like you're the guy that I would ask. Like, hey, am I being hard enough on this child, or because we don't want them to go the wrong way. We don't want them to end up lost.
There's lots of conversations we have on the sides. On the side. I try not to rant on the water. I don't rant on the water. I will just put my hands in my pocket and cruise up there. I'll put my rods down so there's no controversy, and I'll just say you're wrong. You're wrong. You know you're wrong.
You're dirty. You're wrong.
You're wrong. You understand that. We understand it. Everybody understands it. Take off. We'll see you later.
You are listening to the Alpha BassCast with Jake Boomer, Brian Smith, and Bo Fletcher.
On day one, I was running to a spot, and I was running there, and I'm like, man, somebody's on that spot. And I'm like, as I got closer, I'm like, I didn't have the conviction to want to be there bad enough to even like take a different part of the area you were in.
Uh-huh.
So I went by it, and I went somewhere else that was horrible. I should have never gone there. It's a dumb idea. That whole day was stacked with one dumb idea after another one. But the one that kills me is there was a lot of open area for me to be around you. And I've always been polite.
Right.
I would always be like, hey, do you mind if I do this? And if you said no, I would have left. But I didn't even ask. I just kept on going. Like greener pastures, just burn the gas, Jake. But
no, and I'm very much like that myself. I mean, you come flying into an area and there's somebody there. Man, take your turn. It'll open up. Post up somewhere, go fishing, hang around for a minute. But I do it. I do the same thing. You don't want to be an inconvenience. I mean, it is your turn, and if you were there, you wouldn't want somebody to come in busting in. But I mean, there was plenty of room over there. That you could have picked any piece of that real estate out there and got after it, and you would have, it would have been what it was. I mean, I came in at the same time Randy Pearson was in there. I shut down just behind him. So he looked over at one side, I looked over at the other, I gave him a nod, two thumbs up, and we just went to fishing, and it was fine. If I took off, he stayed over there, and if he took off, I stayed over on my side. It was fine.
yeah. If it would have been Bryant, I had to shut down pretty much on the front deck of his boat.
Just pulling out the lawnmower, cutting his grass.
Hey, you fishing
That's
here
right.
too?
No, I would have told him that he had to leave. You know what I mean? Like something about seniority. I probably would have quoted scripture, something to make him have to go. Like, see you, buddy.
You know what I do is and I've done this before. It's just I just ask the guy, "You want my sandwich? You want a sandwich? I got 2 sandwiches in here because if we're gonna share this thing, I might as well share my lunch too."
Yeah, I have a fear of that. Like, I don't want to be around anybody, but it ends up becoming, you could be a problem. Like, you can leave productive areas that have plenty of room because you want to go find the greener pastures.
Right.
But
no, I understand.
Empty pasture.
Yeah. But anyways, now that we've done an awesome intro where we made fun of Brian at least once, and we've got some wisdom from Greg.
Check.
Didn't I do that by pointing out that big trophy right there?
Yeah,
because I had 51% of the Kent Brown Morning Love. That was it.
I can't believe that.
Maybe even
I'm gonna
50.
have to talk.
Right?
Yeah, I think he juiced you up a little bit for this one, and that's
the Ultimate Bass. It's the Ultimate Bass radio show that gets it going. I'm telling you.
Every time.
Every time.
Got a good streak.
Who does?
The Ultimate Bass Radio Show Live.
Yep.
It's a real thing. It is a real thing. I think there was a stretch. He interviewed the leaders going into day 3 back when it was FLW, and I think the leaders won almost every time. It was impressive.
Really?
Yeah, he's got me 3 times.
That should be.
So
We should figure out a way to make that unfair and have Michael Bray make a rule about it so we don't have to. That's cheating. In some way, shape,
No.
or form, that's not fair.
It's not
Kent
like
Brown.
somebody threw a big circle around it and said, "Don't fish here."
Oh, ouch.
I'm sorry. It just slid out, man.
Here we go.
That's awesome.
Just
That's
slid out.
amazing.
So to give a little perspective, we've got Greg on. Normally we do kind of an start, but Greg getting his time, I think, is more valuable than listening to us 3 talk without him. So we just started with Greg. I know that the way Bo starts our recording, sometimes we're saying ignorant stuff and he calls that the start. So hopefully we said some really dumb stuff to make this podcast better than the next. But thank you, Greg, for being part of whatever mess that the 3 of us have created.
I appreciate the offer.
And
Yeah,
congratulations.
let's-
Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Here's the deal, though. This isn't the only one. So we kind of wanted to not just interview winners. We want to just interview people in the sport that have had a major impact, that are kind of on fire about what's happening on the West Coast like we are. And so we're like, if we can only do so many interviews a week because we all have jobs and Brian's traveling and stuff like that, then let's not do, just winner, winner, winner. But we know we wanted you on and then you win. So you kind of complexified it for us. So
Is that a word?
No.
yes, I'm an engineer. I have an engineering degree. You're allowed to make up your own words.
Okay. Okay.
You didn't know that?
So it is a made-up word.
Yeah.
Okay.
Engineeringness.
Not
I coined
anymore.
that when I was 22.
Yeah.
Engineeringness
New
of this
t-shirt.
project.
Yep. He just slapped his doctorate on it.
But my only request is that if we don't completely butcher this podcast, is that you'll come on again down the road, maybe when you don't win, when we have something else cool to talk about. I hope tonight we have some really cool stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like having fun. So far, it's been good.
Good. So congratulations. You won the first
Thanks.
Super 60. We'll let you, we'll probably get you with a few questions, but there was some statistics that Bo and I spoke about on the way here that Bo, you have the numbers.
Yeah, no,
This
this
is kind
is
of cool.
fun trivia because not only did you win the event, but I feel like you did it in such a sleeper fashion. Jake and I were on the phone earlier and he was like, I think if it was only on weight, Greg took it on weight. And I was like, I don't think so. And so we went back and we started doing the math. And sure enough, you had Sean Minderman show up with a 12-pound fish the first day, and he kind of took the spotlight with that. And then, Arbuckle came in with a really big bag on Jake Arbuckle on day 2.
Right,
and so there was the spotlight was being kind of shuffled around. And although your count was through the roof, nobody really paid attention. And that's the interesting thing about the format. Nobody really paid attention that you were holding the weight down the whole time.
Right.
And then that big bag on day 3, I mean, you had a little over 50 pounds. I think 4 bags right in the 49-pound range right behind you.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, if you went total weight, third place would have took second place in that.
Yes.
But and I kind of like the fact when I came in, because I had made my mind up probably within 20 minutes that I was going keeper count, even though my first fish was about a 3-pounder. And I thought, well, that's a good anchor, but no one really paid attention to the fact that I had 16 3/4 pounds, which was a pound and a half out of second, which was still, I'm not dead, I'm moving, but I'm not quite mortally wounded. And then day two, quite honestly, I messed around and I caught a decent fish, a 3+, and then a bunch of little rats. I had some little things, and then I caught a 3-pounder and a 3.5, 3.25, and a one close to 3 3/4 on back-to-back casts on a spot that I hadn't fished yet. And I looked around and I thought, this could be something. So I realized how the big fish were staging, what they were eating, and I avoided them like the plague because I was trying to go in by keepers, and I knew that if all I got was, 10, 15 fish, I'd be in there, and then I could catch those fish. So I left the big fish biting. I just left them and went out. And you're gonna love this. I was scratching my head thinking, should I do this? But I went out, got on the wheel, and I started running down the bank, and I'm casting one of them rubber jerk bait things, and I'm going down the bank and bringing fish up, and I'm looking at them. And all of a sudden I get this one that hammers it, so I pick up a little finesse bait and fire it over there, and I catch a 3-pounder. Now it's like, wow, that's a pretty good fish, and I grab it and I put it down on Tourney X. I take the picture and I turn around and I look at the live well and I just throw it back in the water. It's like, I might regret that, and I picked up my rod and went down and had another one, caught another 3-pound fish. And did that 3 times. I threw back 3 fish for 9 pounds, and I weighed in 2 fish that were 2 pounds each. But
Did you throw them back because you thought you could catch them again tomorrow?
they were on beds, yeah.
Oh.
I figured they were so aggressive that, even if with the weather conditions coming in the next day, plus I kind of loved on them a little bit. I hugged them and stuff, made them feel good about me.
Come back.
Gave him a little belly rub.
I'll be back.
I
So
don't
did you
think
catch them the next day?
I did not even make it there. I did not make it.
Oh my
that's
God.
crazy.
That is crazy.
That is 100% the mind of a
Wow.
winner. Like,
That
I
is
am
a
not in a position where I
veteran
would be
move.
chucking weight back. I would never have done that. I'm not there yet. Like, that's
I
crazy.
I was headed there, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to start right here. And I started on that same spot you seen me. And I don't know, half hour I had 9 pounds, and I started chuckling about it. And I started to leave. I fired up the motor, and I'm taking off. And that one pilot I'd hit those 2 big fish on, I stopped in there, made 2 casts, caught 2 fish. And I hooked the first one, 3-pounder. And then I hooked another one that was right around 3. It was 334. I remember, because it was a big spot, and this thing was just tearing me up. And I could hear a motor coming from a boat. There was nobody up there. And I looked there, and here comes the camera, but he shuts down just in time for me to lip this thing, and then it just was over from there. It just got stupid then. I called that 334 because I thought, well, I'm going to throw this back. I want to see what it weighs. And I actually weighed it, and it's like, that was close.
Wow.
I called it 310 or something like that on my spotted bass guesstimate scale. And yeah,
That's
I was
awesome.
throwing back 3.5. So it was pretty funny. I bet you I called 3 or 4 16, 17-pound limits. It was.
Do you
were
think that, so
fun.
we had decent, day one weather wasn't super bad. It was kind of windy. It was kind of
Right.
sunny. I know it made some mud lines. There was guys that caught mudline fish, but day 2 was sunny and calm. And then day 3, you had weather that I think made it, and Bryant, you can tell me if this is what happened to you, but that wasn't great weather for the shallow water largemouth. Do you think that made fish come to you, Greg?
Yeah, I think so. I think they started pulling off, and they were moving in. And I knew that they were coming in, and I knew that they were ready, and because I was beaming them, and I noticed that I had stuff all over my arms and pants, and I'm what is that? And they were eggs. They couldn't hold it. They were ready to pop. So they were going in. They had to go in. And so they were just laying up, waiting. And I looked at the weather, and I'm thinking, they're not going to go to the bank for that. They're not. There's just too much going on. And then when that big wind came in, and it started doing that 35-mile-an-hour gust thing, it was that was a real deal. I had to cinch down my hat and everything else. There was times I would just stand there and just wait for it to stop so I could cast. It was pretty impressive, just forging
That weather
into the
push them
wind.
back, even though they were that fired up, that weather would pull them off, right?
I think they just didn't move in. I think they were staging there, and then they just didn't move in. And the what's funny is I weighed in all largemouth.
That was what I thought was funny when I found that spot. So I found that area that I saw you in the Pro-Am.
Right.
And the first 2 fish I caught off of it were largemouth, and that blew me away.
Right.
And I'm like, this is a spotted bass spot every day of the week, twice on Sunday, everywhere else you live. And then I went down the bank just to go down the bank, and everything I caught, and it's like a 45 steep bank, and every fish I caught was a largemouth. And honestly, I've never seen that. Like, that made no sense to me. That's smallmouth spotted bass stuff. So
And that rock pile you were on, you were just downriver from me on the
other side. Yep.
other side. Yeah, that hump, and then that one right across from it on the other side was holding good fish. And quite honestly, the one that was on the far east side would have been the one to be on, just because it had the sun exposure, and there was enough shelves on there that you would catch, fish that would post up and spawn on a shelf. You know what I mean?
So I knew you knew about that rock pile. So I just found that rock pile going down the bank. I looked over and I saw this big rock pile with a freaking tree stump sticking out of it 6 feet. And there was a group of fish on it, but they kind of looked like somebody had been messing with them. And I'm like, so I'm not the only one that knows about this. And I start trying to catch them, and I'm like, these. And I don't know if you saw it, but I had my fist up. I'm like, screw you, Greg Gutierrez. Because I knew it. You could tell from the body language of those fish that this wasn't the first boat they had seen. And it was off the bank a little bit, but there's no secrets with technology and stuff like that anymore. Like, that was gravy. Had that been left alone for an hour or two, you know what I mean? It hadn't been, I would have been able to catch a few. Right. But then when I did that, and then I went to the next point down from there, and the fish I saw there were kind of hard. I'm like, I'm fishing over used fish. I need to go find something fresh. I need to go find something that doesn't have double G whaling on them, because I'm not catching anything behind you. Like, I was like, I'm out of here. You saw I left. I didn't stop on my way down. I was gone.
Yeah, I hit a lot of those things. Just, I mean, quick, down and dirty, pull a fish, pull a couple fish, and then move. And what's ironic is there was a herd of good, solid, I'd say 3 to 4.5 pound fish in that group. It was a good group. That's the group that moved down to that one piling on the bank, and that one on the bank was too shallow. A lot of guys would come in, they'd hit it real quick and leave. But those fish, here's what I found: if those fish got up in that 10 to 6 foot range, they were going to go. You would catch them.
Did you look at them, or were you just catching them?
I pull in, I'd see them, I just turn the head away so I wouldn't put any pressure on them, and I would just cast at them. I think, at this point in time, there's enough forward-facing sonar out there that they're feeling the ping, they're getting it. You can see them, their personalities change, and it's kind of like having a spot lock, and putting right over top of a fish anymore. I think that changed a lot of those drop straight down on them fish too. I did. I just glanced up there, seen it, turned the head away, and just make my cast. And
it's funny because I had a conversation with a buddy in the industry, and we were talking about, and I never really thought about it this way, but so we know that the pinging upsets them, but like, even boat motors and the noisier and everything has gotten louder, and they get used to stuff. And now bass boats have, they've got, Bryant can't have them, but there's a lot of guys that have side imaging transducers on the side of their motors. Like, we make so much noise, and the side imaging technology has gotten huge to the point that every boat is going to have it here pretty soon. Saltwater guys are using it for catching salmon. Right. Like, it's just going to be a standard on every boat here pretty quick. And he made a comment, like, when every boat has it and there's always boats over these fish, it's not going to be something that's abnormal. Mm-hmm. Right. Like, it'll be just normal. Like, the sounds that they hear when they put the bridge in, that bridge makes noise that makes that noise all the time. They got used to it and they're comfortable with it. If everybody and their mom has got a forward imaging transducer, eventually, every kind of boat, it'll get to the point where I wonder if they're not super scared about it down the road. And he made that comment. I'm like, we all used to only have 1 or 2 2D transducers. You know what I mean? And you got to the point where like you said, you could stand right over the top of them and catch them. They were so used to it. But I bet the first time they heard it, they're like, we're out of here. Back in the paper graph days when Bryant was not even born.
Hey, I got one. I got my Lowrance X17 paper graph, man. I'm telling you, I got it.
You still have it?
I do. I still have it. Well, you can't do nothing with it. Awesome. I should just chunk it, but it might be coming back in style.
Oh yeah. Be
with the
something worth
regulations
keeping.
that everybody wants or some people want, you might have to use that.
You might be onto something.
Come on. You know what is who was I fishing with? Oh, he was still a co-angler. I went pre-fishing with Aaron Britt on Lake Havasu, and I was working through an area and the fish just weren't biting. I go, "Hey, turn on that stereo." And he goes, "What?" I go, "Turn on that stereo." So he turns on the stereo. I go, "Crank it up, man." He goes, "What are you doing?" I says, "It's camouflage." He goes, "What do
I'm
you
a
mean?" I go,
wakeboard boat
"You
now.
know how many
Yeah.
boats are partying around here? They're used to having beer bottles plunked down on their head. They're not going to even expect to see this little bait coming down on them. They hear the music and it's it was pretty funny. We smashed them though.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's incredible.
Go ahead.
I'm
Or
a
not.
stickler in shallow water though. I tell you, I don't like any movements. I don't like the boat rocked, and sometimes I'm a little tyrant about it, but it is what it is. It's in shallow water they feel that pressure and they feel that presence and they're like, I'm out.
They're done.
Mhm.
So do you draw a
So
circle on the back deck of your boat for your co-angler, and he's not allowed to leave it, so the boat doesn't?
he ratchet straps him to the seat.
You know what? I ask because it's funny. It's funny, when you get in there and you start realizing how much um, how much body movement guys use when they're not used to doing what we're doing. So we're standing on one foot with our other foot on the trolling motor, and we're perfectly in the center, and we're not making a bunch of casts. But you get a co-angler, and they got to run at the cast to get up to it. So they're standing on the edge and they step way back and they step again. I just say, stand in the middle of the boat, man. Stand right in the middle of the boat. And you can move all you want in the middle of the boat.
Yeah.
And it makes a difference. I don't get the water pumping up against the bank, especially if I'm fishing shallow, flipping. If I'm flipping in 1-2 foot of water, I don't like any pump. Or if I can't get somebody to settle down like that, then I will just move the boat right on the bank and I'll flip it forward. I'll just flip forward I'd rather come straight off the bank or a slight angle. But if the waves are pumping it, fortunately, I didn't have to do that. This one, I was just winging my little eye rod out there as far as I could.
These are secrets that a lot of people would have to pay for, Greg.
Seriously.
Yeah.
This is going to be
We're gonna have-
posted on a public forum, Greg. You might want
Yeah, you might want to lay off because
to
now I'm
hold
thinking
back a
about it.
little bit.
I'm gonna get some
Disregard
red tape
everything
for the
I
back
just
of my boat.
said. Okay, shh. Okay, I won't say no more. Go ahead, do it. Let's do somebody.
So
That's awesome.
the B.A.S.S Super 60, it's kind of a different format than the normal tournament with being able to qualify off keepers, being able to qualify off weight zeroing, all that stuff. And you fished the Pro Tour last year, right?
Right.
So you had some experience with this format. And myself going into it, I had no idea what to expect. I had no idea. Like, I was asking everybody, like, when do you go for keepers? I don't understand. Like, are you supposed to so talk me through what your approach to this tournament was.
Well,
Was it go for keepers right off the bat, see how the day unfolds?
right. Well, we're looking at the weather pattern, right? The weather pattern was fairly warm coming into it, so I knew those fish would had to be moving in. But in a group like this and the trolling motors we cover a lot of country. And I got to looking at the weather and how it was stacking up, and I'm thinking, oh man, we're getting a weather change 2 days before the tournament. We're dropping 20 degrees. We dropped 20 degrees. That's a chunk right there. And then wind was coming in, rain was coming in. On day 2, you had to have them figured out before day 3, right? So the thing is as I was going for it, I decided I would go for keeper count because I've been in a situation like this where you go out there and you find those bigger fish and you go through them trying to make that top 10 because you're thinking everybody's going for big fish, but that's not necessarily the way to do it. I think I think up at the Columbia River, I was going for keeper count, and I ended up getting a really good bag in the morning. And I just left the whole area. I ran to an area I knew that had just schoolers, and I decided I would rack up my keeper count. So it gave me an opportunity of either I get in with keepers or I get in with total weight. And then I left it flexible like that. This tournament, I went in with the same thought process, only I went backwards. I went in with keeper count, and then I started getting bigger bites and putting that together. And then day 2 came, and I left halfway through the day just to go look for bigger fish. So I had that in my back pocket. And most of those fish were all turning on a reaction bait, and I could see them. And I could feel them. You know, I would make a long cast and I'd get bit, and I'd just mark the spot, go up and cast on it, and I'd catch the fish. Wasn't rocket science. It was pretty simple. So that's how I was doing it. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I love bed fishing. I'm a sight fishing fool. I mean, I got readers here for regular, but man, I'm a sight fishing fool. I love it. And um yeah, that was the thought process. As I started going through that within the first 20 minutes of that first day, I realized I'll make the top 10 for sure. I knew it. I just knew it. Um, just because I'm watching Randy. Randy's doing the same thing I am, and we're catching fish, and when we came back in at the end of the day, I had 39 and he had low 20s, and I thought, okay, I'm on the right stuff for numbers. I'm okay with it. Now, day 2, I figured out how to get those bigger fish to bite, and
Hmm.
that was the ticket. I knew there were some around, and they would come in and they would leave, and when they came in, I just kept moving looking for them. To be honest with you, I did. I moved around on day 2 several times looking for them, just out, back, down, round, back, out, back, out. You know, so that was kind of the deal. You gotta. The decision is play the cards you're given at the time. I mean,
Hmm.
if you're going down the bank ripping them on a spinner bait and they're all 5 pounders, you might want to think about laying off that area and going somewhere else and looking for more fish and more areas. You know, so you start pre-fishing every couple of cycles. You know, if you're going along, it's like, okay, I need to move. I think that's what hurt Zach Thompson last year at in the first one down in what's
Martinez.
Martinez. Yep.
Martinez. Yeah, Martinez. Yeah, I think that's what hurt him. He just stayed in the same area and just kept showing him the same bait over and over and over again. You know, 3 days of that, I was in there. I was in there doing the same thing. Only I was throwing a bunch of different baits.
Yeah, that's an interesting outlook because uh, I pretty much pigeonholed myself. I didn't realize it till after the day was over, but I had 17 pounds. I was sitting good on weight, but I only had 8 keepers, and I only had a shot to make the top 10 based off of weight. So I
Right.
had to go for weight the next day. But I think that's the smart way to do it is if you can find a way to get both going, and whichever one kind of leads the way, you stick with that one. But having that other avenue in your back pocket, that's perfect. That's a perfect way to approach this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I try to have both in my back pockets. Like last year during the TOC on the Delta, you know, I was going for keepers, looking for keepers, just had a drop shot and was just messing around looking for keepers, and I ran into a couple of pods of big fish, and I uh, I found it kind of humorous because I didn't realize that I had been recording. I forgot that there was a stick on the back of the boat, and they posted up some of that stuff. I was bouncing 3 and 4 pounders up onto the deck of the boat with a spinning rod, and I was just laughing at it, going, "Oh man, did I really do that? I did it." But I put those because I knew it was such a tough bite. I was like, "Holy smoke!" So I just started running, looking for other areas. I mean, halfway through that first day, it was like, I got to find more areas like this, and I just started looking for them. And that's it. Put that plan together and get another plan together, and then have a contingency. I always have 2 or 3 patterns when I pre-fish anyway. So um, sometimes it doesn't do that. But I did have a backup plan. But I basically I told Billy Hines, we were staying together there camping at the campground also, and I just told him I think I'm all in on what I'm doing. And he goes, man, I need to
Worked
catch some
out.
keepers. Yeah, I need to catch some keepers. I said, well, go around the corner and hit one of those other ones I'm not going to hit. Knock yourself out. Catch some keepers.
It's funny, like I paid attention to tournaments ever since I've been in them. Listening to you is all they did was add this keeper count thing, which seems like a little bit like, Brian, this is your first time. Like, you thought about it kind of holistically. Okay, keeper count, blah blah blah. But after just listening to Greg, what do you think about the way he approached? Like, he was throwing big fish back. He'd catch enough weight that I'm in on weight, so I'm out. I'm doing like complete, like the good old days of like, hey, listen, I got a pretty big bag. If I spend the next 2 hours on a bank with a chatterbait, I'm gonna catch the big one. You know what I mean? That stuff with this format is completely gone.
Out the window.
Yeah.
You should
what
be
I mean?
rewarded for being able to catch fish, right? That was
Yeah.
the whole premise of this thing, because when we started it, everybody wanted 5 fish, and I just told them no. You should be rewarded for being able to catch fish. There should be some kind of point system, some kind of percentage when you qualify for this top 10, that the amount of keepers that you have qualify in. And I says, uh, I believe we need to be able to have that. And, if you don't like 12 inches, make it 13 inches, and they said, well, we'll do 14 inches, because we want to be able to have bigger fish for keeper counts. And I go, beautiful. But you want to reward a guy, or gal, whoever's going to come in there that can catch them, catch
Yeah.
them. I mean, honest.
Well, and it's like the best of both worlds, right? Like, we like watching people crush them in MLF, and we like the bass world. This is the only where those two are paired together. But I think you probably, and the reason we'll have you back on again down the road, you probably unearthed the thought process, like just thinking about the way you just said, well, I was in on weight, so I'm out. I'm going to go catch keepers. Like, and Bryant's going, wait a minute. Like, we have set patterns in the way we try to do things to be successful, right? I want to do this.
Right.
I want to do that. And you pretty much screwed up all mine in the first 20 minutes of this podcast. So thanks.
or I messed
Finally.
myself up by giving you the juice. No, it's true though. I mean, we're 2 ways to qualify, and then you can swing for the fence. Then you can count on 5 bites, but you're never going to have a chance at winning it if you don't make that top 10.
Yes, 100%.
So I mean, honestly, if all you're doing is catching 3-pound fish punching, and you can't catch anything doing that, but you can't catch anything more than that, but you're catching a gazillion of them. So you decide you're going to throw on a buzz bait, but you're going to get, 5 big splashes, in a day if you throw a buzz bait. Save your buzz bait for later and just get in. It doesn't
Right.
matter. I mean, it doesn't matter how you get there. It's kind of funny. You went through the statistics earlier. I had a guy post on my Facebook. He says, hey, good job, Greg, but I find it I forget how it was put, but he thought it was he didn't think it was right that the guy, the number 1 leader, that should have won it, ended up in 9th place. And I go, well, wait a minute, man. I'm thinking, how do I say this? It's like, well, you
How do I
better
shut
sharpen up
this guy down nicely?
your crayon and do the math on that one, because I'm very well aware of what the weight is, and so, because I know how to big fish for big fish, and I've done it for years and years and years, and just because I'm pigeonholed as a finesse fisherman doesn't mean I like it. I'm good at it.
The cashes checks and wins tournaments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially in California. Like, do you think the California is the finesse fishing capital of the world since you've been all over? Because I do.
Oh man, you know what? I think all the Oregon, Washington guys are more finessey than we are. I mean, look at it. A a almost 13-pounder was caught with a drop shot, dragging a drop shot behind a boat.
Worm.
I mean, those guys throw those little 5-inch Carolina rig lizards, and I mean, they do a lot of mostly finesse fishing up there. I mean, they got 7-foot rods or 8-foot rods made especially for what they're doing up there.
Minderman, though, we call him Yoda. Like, I feel like he's a little bit farther ahead of the mean up here. Minderman will be throwing 4-pound test into the reeds when you and I would have 20. And he and I hope he doesn't hate my guts for telling you this, but he wins a lot of tournaments doing that, and he just doesn't pull on them hard. He just chases them down.
Right.
And you're like, dude, but we call him Yoda for that. Like, you need the force to do that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
you have to have the patience once you get it on.
Yeah.
It's he's caught so many fish. You touch it, you hook so many fish. I was laughing about this because I was looking at some of the video that my Marshall had taken, and I noticed that I just hooked a fish, I just get into him, and then I just let the fish do its thing, and it would finally get out of any trouble I was in, and it would come out. I'm seeing hair all over my line. I know it's frayed, and if I put any pressure on it, I'm fishing with 6-pound tests, and I'm just pulling it in. Just pull it in. Good drag. Let it do its thing. You watch all these other guys, and it's like, oh, please, 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 please. Like, oh, man. They're breathing hard like they just got done running a 100-yard sprint. It's like, holy smokes. This is a marathon, man. This is a marathon. So, yeah, patience. I mean, Sean's been around. He's been around a long time.
Yeah, he's won a lot of stuff.
Yeah. You get bit. You get bit with that lighter line. I mean, I hate to do it, but I can do it.
You're pretty
I'm
good
okay
at
with it. Yeah.
Slightly. Just okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
working on-
guys did the math for everybody in the top 10, but Greg, yes, you would have won on just weight as well, as
I know.
you caught the most keepers.
Yeah.
So anybody
Did
who
you
wants
ju-
to question,
Did you just
you
do
won
that
the
math,
overall.
Bryant?
Yeah, but I used to
Did it take you about the whole time he spoke to get
I've
there?
been doing it off and on for 37 minutes since we've been
Okay.
going.
Just
That's what we said earlier. We knew Greg would have won on.
right. Yeah.
And the funny thing about your comment about Facebook, it was probably from Swim Bait Johnny, right?
Oh,
It probably made that. It had to have been. And we were listening to a podcast on the way home, and Rogan's like, never ever read the comments on your posts. I'm like, I thought about that because now we're doing more stuff, and our social media for alpha anglers getting bigger, and I'm like, I gotta quit. I gotta take that advice. Like, don't read the comments.
Or don't
Never.
take
Put
it
your post
personal.
up, move on.
Yeah, don't take it personal. I didn't take it personal. I just kind of chuckled and says, somebody better do their math. Sharpen up your crayon and do your math. It's like,
Yeah, you want to. Window lickers. Listen, if you do the like, you want to say stuff like that, right?
yeah.
When you're done
Math it
licking
up.
the window,
Yeah.
get a
You can
Sharpie
use-
and write on the window the weights for all 3 days.
You can use fingers, toes, beans if you got them, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever you need. Yeah. No, we have a cool format, and you've pretty much kicked the West Coast butt for so many years. And we've said this when we started the podcast, something that really motivates me because I traveled with Bryant when NPFL came out. The West Coast guys that we all look up to, everybody, like Bo will admit he's one of your fanboys. We're all one of your fanboys, but Bo. Yeah. Like the very first FLW I ever fished, you won. I think it was in 19. So like you know what I mean? We see all this stuff, but I'm seeing the West Coast guys. They're not like, hey, we're out of here. We're selling our houses. We've got to go east if we want to be a pro fisherman. Your excitement and the fact that you've been a part of this for so long. And then, I mean, I watched your weigh-in. Like, you were really happy you won this tournament, and you've won 100 of them. So obviously, I feel like the West Coast is growing, but I think it's because of guys like you aren't leaving.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Bryant is the only Californian that actually resides in California in the elites, even though the elites have like 30 Californians on it.
Greg, you used to do the same thing when you were on the elites. You never left
Correct.
California. Yeah.
Yeah, I
And you
had
worked
2
a
boats.
full-time job.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, I was when I was making room for the new guy up there on the that guy.
Rub it in.
Yeah, I was moving some stuff back, and I go, "What the heck is this?" I'm dusting off this trophy. It said, uh, "Sixth place finish on Lake Norman during the Bass Master Sitco 150s." It was like, oh wow, I forgot about that one. Yeah, so it's
Wow.
like, yeah, and that was all skipping a jig 20 miles underneath the dock and hitting the bank on the backside and taking 2 pulls on the string and setting the hook on a jig. It was fun. It was a hoot. Um, but yeah, I've cashed some pretty good checks back there. A third place on Norman or sixth place on Norman, a third place on Grand, and I've Sam Rayburn. I've had some good finishes back there. I like fishing back there. It's just, my situation with my wife at the time, and her health and having a full-time job and all that stuff kind of forced me to come back and do that. And it was the right decision then. And if I had to do it again, I'd do it again in a second. It's just fishing. It's just fishing. But yes, now is the time and to grow this sport and for guys to get in. A lot of folks, like you, Bryant, you're going, well, what is this format? This is kind of hokey. It's kind of weird. It's hard to follow Tourney X. But the minute you do it, the first time you do it, you go, that was fun. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but it's fun being
Yeah.
able to work around those kind of things, and it exercises your mind. I think honestly, it makes you a better fisherman by
100%.
by being able to um, go you're flowing with the ebbs and tides. It makes you make decisions faster, and I think that's where my strengths have been is I trust myself in my decision making, and I make it quick. I don't wait around. You can only tell yourself, man, I should go over to that point. Oh, man, that point has some good ones over there. I should go do it. But no, there were some good ones here. But man, I should really go over there. And then Bo pulls up on my point, and I go, oh man, damn you, Bo! I was gonna hit that point again. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, shut
Damn
up,
you,
Greg.
Bo.
Just fire up your boat and go over there the first time, and you'll be surprised how fast you'll move.
And I
Yeah,
think
Yeah.
not having practice also is a huge benefit when you have that kind of mentality and you have that trust in your
right,
instincts. Like
Yeah.
right,
we all fished off instincts of this, but you can only do so much map research, so much, looking at contours, looking at Google Earth. You can only do so much of that. It's
right.
totally different when you're like, I haven't seen that lake in 7 years. I don't think either of you guys have seen that lake ever. Oh, Jake, you fished the pro-am, so you cheated.
Yeah, but I actually think that hurt me. I actually think that I think that you're right, Brad. To make your point and say that you're right for the one time that I'll do that in this podcast, but I think
Recording?
that actually hurt.
Yep, we're good.
Thought that
Yep.
was part of the
One
intro.
every time. Once a podcast. Once a
Got this one
podcast.
out of the way early.
So, I have a question for you, Greg. Because
Dude,
I had a friend who is a local fisherman up here call me on the way home, and
Mhm.
it kind of plays to what you said. You said, once you go fish this, like something clicks and it's a lot of fun. And I experienced that the first time I fished it. It was like, oh yeah, this is really cool. It makes you think about things in different perspectives, how you want to approach the competition. Do you feel like we still, or when I say we, do you feel like the organization still needs to figure out how to translate this format to the fans or to the people that are following this?
No, I think, and I asked the Turniax guy, is there going to be a way that people can just watch and see all the keepers? That way they can see how things are progressing, and I think that would be a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, rather than your top five. Your top five, in the weight, and it just reads out the weight, and people think that, but they're missing the other component. If we're going to have that component, we're going to talk about it. Really need to show that component also in Tourney X. And Tourney X is I think is a great platform. I've told guys, they've asked me about it, and I've just told them, hey, you need to download that thing and start weighing everything in your house. Run around with a scale and put a scale on it and get a number and go in there and add it in and just weigh everything. Just do it, and just do it for hours. Get as many as you can get in there.
Sure.
Also, I think like what's the one the Bubba scale, right? The new Bubba Scale Pro can do how many fish on it? Like 200 fish? I don't know. I know it's a lot.
Yeah.
I
Why
can't see
aren't
the
we?
numbers on it, so I
Yeah.
can't use it.
What I know and I got
They're
old
tiny
guy.
little numbers.
I can see you all the way down there on that hump, and no dadgumming good and well that was like a 13-incher. It's like, ha ha ha. But man, I can't tie a knot to save my soul unless I got these things on. So, but why can't we partner with someone like that and go, hey, look, what isn't there a Bluetooth connectivity to where we can do this and make these things talk? And, come on, Bubba Scale, come in and partner with us.
Yeah.
We're the ones
We
doing
are the tournament
doing it.
circuit for your
Yep.
Yeah,
scale.
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're
No,
doing it.
because I think if you can translate it well, and because Mark's building this incredible media platform, people are paying
Right.
attention. This is the biggest thing on the West Coast. If we
Right.
can if it can be translated well, I think it's going to drive a bigger interest or following. And I did also talk to a lot of guys who would, if you're somewhere close to that cut line and you don't really know what you want to do on that second day, you definitely have to sit down at that leaderboard and kind of start doing some math and start, it seems like you have to kind of work your way through it a little bit. And I don't know the answer, but I wonder if there is one to make it a little easier for everyone.
And I don't mind popping that thing open and looking at the weight,
Right.
and just to give myself a little litmus paper, a little litmus test to figure out where I am with weight. Um, uh, I remember in the very first go rounds of Apex, I had a pretty good sizable lead the first day of a tournament, and I all of a sudden I seen boats coming. What the heck is that?
It's a good segue. I'll be right back.
Hang on one second.
Hi, Bo.
Hi.
Just the two of us.
We
Wow.
can make it if we
That's
try.
not even connected. I don't know how that's
Uh-oh.
working.
You got a ghost in there.
Yeah, I do. Okay, I got it fixed. I got it fixed. So anyhow, what was I saying? I was saying, oh.
Yeah, we lost. We lost.
He has an incredulously small bladder.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
It's impressive.
Yeah, he probably has worse eyes than you, and he has a bladder of a squirrel. So,
What
there's
was
a
I
lot
saying?
of bathroom breaks.
Yeah, my memory's going down. So where was I at? I was talking about what was it?
Oh, looking at the
Checking the
looking at
Tourney
leaderboard.
X
Yeah.
during.
Yeah, so I had a couple guys come down because everybody was upriver, and they came downriver, fished around me for a little bit, and left. And it was like, oh, that was interesting. I didn't think nothing of it until later on. I was like, oh, well, there would be no reason to come down there. Nobody wanted to come down there because the wind was blowing 45 miles an hour down there. I mean, my boat was filled with water. The cameraman had to give up using his big camera, expensive camera, put it under cover and use a different one because there was so much water coming into the boat from the spray. Just
Wow.
every time it would splash, it just spray, and it was horrendous. But I just spot locked and sat there with a jerkbait and just wailed on fish one after another until they stopped, and then threw a nail down there and just ripped their faces off with that and just kept cycling through. But it was good. You know what I mean?
The awkward silences means you guys are getting ready to make fun of me.
Oh no, we already did that while you were gone. We talked about
Okay,
your
good.
squirrel bladder, your bad eyes.
I do have bad eyes. It wasn't a bladder issue this time. It was I have an attack wolf dog that
Oh, Lupe.
was getting ready to eat. I think the poor mailman.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, he's 5 pounds, but all 5 pounds is fury and anger, especially if you're wearing a USPS outfit.
I had a Frenchie that would just attack the front gate, and I made a joke one time. The guy had scared this poor delivery dude, and he jumped up in his truck on the other side of the fence, and this little Frenchie's back there just doing her thing. And I says, "You're lucky this dog isn't like 4 or 5 foot tall. It would jump over this fence and it'd grab you by the throat." I said, and I started laughing. "Oh, don't say that! Don't say that!" I started like, "I'm just joking, man. Just joking. She's friendly. She just doesn't like strangers." Well, that dude put a do not enter vicious dog thing, and that went across almost every delivery thing. So all my packages now left on the street. Like, are you kidding me?
Shows you.
I guess I better not joke around about my dog anymore.
I know.
You got-
can't even be a
They put you
smart
on
aleck.
the UPS Facebook group warning post.
The do not fly list.
Right. Yeah.
That's right. Can't fly with your dog.
Oh,
But-
man.
And it rains at Shasta, and all your boxes are getting rained on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
That's actually the one reason why I was like, I gotta get some better gear. And then once I talked with Bryant about the buck and bass, it was like, all right, I'm all in 100%. It's the best decision I ever made. Just living in Redding and fishing, or living in Red Bluff and fishing on Shasta all the time, because when it rains, it really rains. Miserable there.
I remember one meeting at a Shasta tournament, and they said that Redding is the sunniest city in California. There's no way. It is always raining in Redding. Whenever
but
I'm there, it's raining.
North of
don't-
Redding.
They don't do the rain. They don't do the rain thing. They don't check for rain during fishing tournaments. So when the fishing tournaments come in town,
There it
everything
is.
shuts off. Yeah, that's it too. It's a big thing. But no. We need to educate. We need to educate folks more. A lot of the outside anglers are starting to pick up on it now. I still have to explain things to guys, about how we qualify for the top 10. I mean, just having the one comment about, well, the true winner of the tournament should have been, he should have won this. And it's like, well, the true winner would have to qualify in the top 10. And then from there you have, you get your big bag. But I remember back in the FLW days when you would go the first couple of days, and then they'd wipe your, if you made it to the final day, they'd wipe all your weight. So you were fishing for weight. So you're burning big fish just to make it there. Then you're fishing for big fish. I like this is you can fish for both and get in.
Sure.
And I like the fact that they're 14 inchers and not 12 inchers. And,
I would have liked to have been 13.
Could you
this last
imagine?
event.
Could you imagine them going through all the 12 inchers on Pedro?
Oh, God. It would have been insane.
200. Like, keep a count. Yeah.
Hundreds.
Bo would have preferred they were all 13 and 3/4
I was
because he would
good
have made
with
the top
13.
10.
Yeah, I would have. Loved 13 and a half.
I did wait. I did do a couple of line burners, but for the most part, I was catching pretty solid fish all the way through this tournament. But I mean, I'm not no Colby Pearson with 100 some odd fish, but
Hey, I beat him the first day. Don't give
no,
him all
that's
that.
true. That's right. That's right.
You want to know that? Hey, I'll tell you the funny thing about that. And I love Colby.
But who had the most weight that day?
I did the first day.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought it was you.
So this is funny because the second day I was doing it again, wearing them out. I knew it was going to make the top 10, so I made it what I'm going to call a double G decision. I'm like, I need to go look for bigger fish, right? I'm in, right? There's no reason for me to keep with the keeper count thing. Well, the comment had been made during the drivers' meeting that morning was, we might cancel tomorrow because they had a big win prediction. Well, and we're going to go back to win predictions again because that completely changed my mindset because I'm like, wait, you're going to cancel on win prediction. So I had this fear that now I'm giving up the potential of second place, knowing that I'm going to make the top 10. Everything's going to zero. I'm going to go for weight tomorrow. So I was giving up just catching them and looking for fish, but I was giving up money And
Correct.
so I called Michael Bray and I said, hey, you have to actually make a decision about tomorrow. And I feel like you should have, like you need to let us know what's going on. And Bray did a great job. He actually did a really good job. He goes, you're right. Because he had made this comment, like, I'm like, you can't cancel at 7 p.m. the night before. And I'm a pretty big advocate of this. You can't cancel on forecast.
Right.
So anyways, he calls back and he goes, hey, we'll make the decision in the morning. Make sure you catch everything you can. Well, by that time, it'd been 4 hours or 3 hours of me looking for big fish. And Pearson just went and caught him. And so now I'm like, oh, crap, we are fishing tomorrow.
Right.
So I had to go back and try to get my keeper count back up, not knowing, the way this was going to land. And anyways, long story short, I didn't actually find anything searching, but there's two pieces to this where I'm coming from. And this is not a rant, Brian. This is not my one rant.
No,
It's very.
he
it's
said he wasn't going to
rant-esque.
rant today, but he's
The
ranting.
cancellation thing, the cancellation on forecast, I think is a problem. But long story short, coming back to
You
it,
know who, you know who my stand-in is for the rant? I'll see you guys in a minute.
Yeah. Anyways, long story short, I mean, Bray handled it amazingly, but I was catching them so good. I'm glad it didn't matter because the next day I didn't get to use any of the fish I looked for, but that
Right.
adds such a layer to this sport that I actually really enjoy. You know what I mean? I really enjoy that second layer. Listening to you, I'm making notes because you're thinking about that layer at a level I'm not.
Correct.
Well, problematic as it is, I led in weight on that tournament the first day. And so I went in and I looked at those fish and before I went there and I made a decision. I'm going to go down and get just some fish. And then I'm going to rack up the keepers just to make I'm giving myself a backup to get in. So I had good keepers. I had good weight. I knew I would make it in the top 5 in weight, but if I didn't, I want to make it in by keepers. Well, I left and I ran down and started smashing on these. I had a smaller limit, but I went and I just went for keepers. They call up and go, midday and go, hey, you need to catch what you can. I go, well, I was on those fish and I left them, because it's going to go first place is weight, second place is keeper, third place is weight.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And down the road. And then it was like, you should have said this in the morning. You should have said this in the morning. Hey, we're thinking about this. And then I would have just piled them. I would have pile driven them.
I think guys like you are going to take a format like this that's adding so many more levels to the sport, which is so cool. But I don't envy being a tournament director because we are finding new ways to just drive those guys nuts. And when I talked to Bray about it, I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, you're kind of messing with me here. What should I be doing for tomorrow if you can't make a decision? You know what I mean? And then he's like,
No,
and I bet he was like, I hate you guys.
I said the same thing. I called him up too. Hey, wait a minute, man. This is unacceptable.
But it's part of the new concept, right? Like, I know it's been done for a while, but like now that you're doing it on this level, like they've got stuff they have to figure out as well, because there's new circumstances that are going to get brought up, right?
Right.
Yeah.
We could talk about, I think this is a great segue because Greg, we want to have you on a couple times just to talk about all the cool things about this sport that we all love. The reason this podcast exists, the reason we do it, the reason Bryant doesn't do anything else but fish. But I kind of feel like after this, you don't do anything else, do you? Like, you don't even have a yard to mow.
I do. It just dies in the summer.
He makes pizza.
He makes pizza.
Arizona. Yeah, you got yourself an Arizona yard.
Yeah.
Cactus.
But, I feel like tournament organizations struggle a little when they come out with something new, and like there's so many more.
Myself.
Oh, here we go. I mean, like, you saw the rise and fall of the Apex, which is a great idea.
Right.
Had some failures to it, but now we've taken one of all of our good friends, Mark, who is crazy enough to go down this road. And I feel like the hardest part for him is the fact that he's got this crazy new format with all these great anglers, but he also has a cell phone he won't put down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's tough. It's tough. Me personally, I've been asked, man, how would you like to be a tournament director? It's like, yeah, you wouldn't like me as a tournament director because I would just get to it. Let's just get it over with, and here it is. There's a circle around these docks, and there's a line right here. Don't go there. And it's like Michael. It's like I knew Michael he's got a strong, firm conviction. He's a right and wrong thinker. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And Mark and I were talking about it. He goes, I need somebody to be a tournament director rather than me because I need to do this other stuff. And I go, well, Michael Bray. He's young. I go, man, he'll be respected by us. He's got the respect of a lot of us already. And these other guys that don't respect him, we'll tune him up.
Yep.
And he's going, man. Well, it turns out he hires him. Who's the first guy he DQ'd?
You.
You.
Really?
Yeah.
Look, we went to Almanor, right? And I was up. I knew where some fish were that I had seen, so I decided, I'm going to go there. It's day 2. I got to go up there, and I got up there. And it's right around a campground. Me and my wife had camped out several times, and it was like I just kind of zoned out, to be honest with you. I just got in this little happy place of memories and stuff like that. And it was like I looked at my watch. It's like, okay, time to go, and I took off. And I'm just thinking, and I'm just driving along. I mean, do, and I drove right by the place, went over, shut down, started fishing. Phone rings. I go, yeah, what's up? He goes, where are you at? And I go, I'm fishing. And he goes, you were supposed to check in 2 minutes ago. I go, I will be right there. so I pull in there and I'm just laughing. I'm laughing. And he goes, I go, hey, look, just so you know, I checked out the rules. I go, you have to DQ me. He goes, I was going to say that, man. I'm sorry. I go, don't ever apologize for doing your dadgum job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't do it because somebody's got to make the hard decision, and it's not personal. It's just life, man. I go, I'm the one responsible for this. If anything, I apologize to you for putting you in the situation because that's the way it is. I did that. Yeah. So, but it was just, it's just one of them funny moments where you go in there and you push for this guy and he cuts your head off. The little,
DQs
little
you.
bastard.
A punk kid.
That's so good. Well, I've been a massive advocate of his as well. Like I remember I met him I think the year before he started going to school at Simpson, and he was he was helping out at Wild West, and he got to kind of like cut his teeth there. And I agree with you. I think you nailed it on the head. Like it's very much right and wrong. Like there is no gray for him, and I think having that creates he's figuring it out every event, and every event he puts a little more into it. And I love that he's got people like you behind him, because I've heard some guys be like, I don't know about this kid, and it's like, you better strap it on, because he's coming and he's going to do the right thing.
Yeah, he's the real deal. He's the real deal. He's got conviction. He's got good attitude, and he's got a really good grounded set of morals. You know what I mean? I mean, I would watch him in the tank in those early days, and guys would just be treating him like dirt. And I look at him and I just go, don't put up with him. Don't put up with him at all, man. And I said, you just step up, just tell them they're out of line. Fish doesn't go, it doesn't go. If mine doesn't go, you just tell me I'm done. It's all good, but don't put up with that. And
and Boomer nailed it. Like we were talking about this on another cast, and Jake nailed it on the head. Like, and even with Ed, like, you're not just going to put a Facebook ad out and get an MC to show up and do the job that Ed's doing. You're not just going to put an ad out and have some guy show up and be a phenomenal tournament angler or tournament director. And, these guys aren't fishing. I know Bray loves to fish. I mean, he could have said, screw all this, and he could be out coaching his team and, kayak angling.
Mhm.
So, and I always I love, Jake, that you said that. And I want us always to continue to remind people that, like, we need all of these guys. Mark should
Exactly.
be spending his retirement fishing tournaments, but
Absolutely.
there is not a more perfect person to do what he's doing. And he's got his whole heart into it, for our benefit.
Yeah, the sacrifice you made was significant, and
Huge.
it's much appreciated for sure.
100%. Yeah.
The best, like we're watching Bray like evolve, right?
Yeah.
But you know that he's dealing with a bunch of crap. And so he, like the drivers meeting, he made a comment that I'll never forget. He goes, "I know you guys want this meeting to be over so you can get to your boats and rig your tackle, but none of that's going to matter if I DQ you because you don't know the rules." I was like,
and what happened? Ta-da!
I was like, "That's so awesome! You got your tackles rigged to the bone. You're ready to go, but you're DQ'd because you didn't know the
pay
rules."
attention. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly what happened.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, and I don't
And
know if the statements he makes are actually, like, I don't know if he knows he's making
knows.
a blunt statement. I don't know if he even knows it's funny, but some of the things he
he
drops
knows.
just
Funny.
they'll knock you right
He,
off your
he
chair.
knows. He is dry as an old salami. That guy's humor is awesome.
It's funny though.
It is so good.
Because you know there's some old grumpy guy in the back going, "I can't believe this kid's talking to me this way," but the dude can DQ you from this tournament.
Yeah.
And what
Gotta
and,
get some
and you
respect.
have no choice. Yeah.
Yeah. Try sir, young kid.
Yeah.
That's
Call him, sir.
Yeah, that's amazing. You know, I want to ask you a question, Greg. You know, I haven't been tournament fishing that long, but
He's captivated by you, Greg.
I am. I think you're I love your energy. I don't know, but do you feel like you're in your prime? Because
that's a good question.
I've been watching you these last couple of years, and there is a stride going on, and you know, I'm looking at this case behind you of years and years of accreditation, but I don't know. There seems to be there's something going on that I just wonder if, do you feel like you're on a stride right now?
Yeah, you know what? Like I said a long time ago, it's been a while back. I about 2000, let's say 2018. I realized, that I was out there doing this, but I wasn't doing it at my potential. I really wasn't. I was always struggling to get out and be able to pre-fish. I always had something else going. I had a full-time job, and around that time, I'd been retired for a few years, but I was more or less taking care of, my wife and her illness, and so I really didn't spend a lot of time out pre-fishing and fun fishing. I just didn't go out fun fishing. And I realized that if I'm on the water and I'm doing it, I need to be more productive with my time, and I need to start believing in the information that I have in my head is real. And I just started reacting to it. And that's where I ended up when I say you just got to trust yourself, believe it, hear it. And I do, I do. I honestly hear it. And I just I react to it now because I spent all these years building up this toolbox of information, skill sets, flipping, and it's like I got hammered by, I'm not going to mention Ken Mall's name, but I'll give you his initials, KM. and they'd thrown this thing out there, and he comes in, he goes, "You're a sandbagger." He calls me up, "You're a sandbagger." I'm going, "What are you talking about?" He says, "I seen the videos. You're a sandbagger." I go, "I don't understand. What are you talking?" He goes, "Yeah, I seen you on the video, man. You can flip." And I said, "I never said I couldn't flip. I never said I couldn't punch. I just said that, you guys see me with a spinning rod in my hand. That's what you see. You choose to see that. You didn't see that, on the Bassmaster Elites on Clear Lake, that I was catching all my fish with a swim bait. Everybody modified their swim bait that way after that, right? Everybody. I got guys from all over the country. Hey, what size rings are you using on that? So all of that stuff is compiled in my toolbox, And so I know they're there. Everything's there. When I go practice, I try everything. It's not like I pick up one bait and go, oh, there he is. Oh, that's a good bite. And then I go down the bank and, oh, there's another one. There's another one. And so I run around everywhere and use that one rod. It's like, what happens if this rod goes away? So here I am. Man, you two are, but here it is. I go in there and I practice. And it's like, okay, if I'm catching these fish in 20 feet, what happens tomorrow? I look at the weather and I go, well, the weather's going to do this. Everything's going to be stable. It's going to do that. The wind's coming in on this day. Those guys aren't going to be able to look at bedfish. If they are looking at bedfish, they got better eyes than I do, and they're probably sitting right on top of them. So chances of bed fishing are slim when the 35-mile-an-hour winds hit, because it's going to hit everywhere. So there's certain things that I do, and I will try. I'll put a rod down. It's like, okay, I don't need to touch this rod again. And then about 1 o'clock, I'll go, okay, things have changed. Pull the rod out, and I'll try it again. It's like, it's not working. So, is it a color change? I keep a basic supply of various colors, and I try not to go too crazy on them. But it's a crawdad, it's a brim, it's a shad, right? That's it. Crawdad, brim, and a shad. So that's my color palette, and I work it that way. I get rid of all the other junk in my head, and I just break things down. And so when I make the changes, and I tell myself, man, I should go to that point. I should go to that point. I should go to that point. And then someone pulls in there. It just pisses me off that I didn't listen to myself, and I make it a point not to do it again. So that's kind of what happened. Is I grabbed myself by the ear and said, listen to yourself. You know better than what you're doing. Just go do what you know. And that's the gist of it.
I read this article just to back up what you just said, and hopefully people that are listening, you need to understand this. Kyle Welcher one time said, so I might have said this in our last podcast or another one, but he made the FLW tour at a really young age and then kind of washed out. When he came back, he was the hammer he is now. And he said, the biggest change I made was I was too afraid to change what I was doing against this good a guy. Now, what he was talking about now at the point when he qualified for the elites, he's like, now if I get on something in practice, I almost get scared and put it down and do something else. Like you just said, like, yeah, you can go find every fish that'll bite that one bait in the whole lake, but you have really not solved, you know what I mean? Like he doesn't want to get on anything because he wants to be able to get on everything, be able to get on what's next, what's coming in front of him, not to be like, I'm super dialed. It's like you see it at Phil's Propeller in a tournament. Yep. All of a sudden, one bait is gone, right? Everybody bought out that one color, and it's the one bait that's working. And in the tournament, who knows? Most likely, it probably didn't work, right? Something changed or whatever. But that article that Kyle wrote, I read that, and that is like, that changed the way I practice. And I still haven't broken free from that thought process. Like it still haunts me and catches me on day one pretty bad. But it's funny to hear you say that really good anglers think alike kind of thing. You guys should write a book and we'll sell it.
That would be cool. I would like to do that. I've often thought about it, but man, my crayon doesn't get sharpened enough. And so
hey, the Alpha BassCast will publish it. We only want 40% of the profits.
Okay, well, let's do it.
45. We're negotiable.
So here's one to think about, though, and here's one to think about. You really got to think about it. You take that top 10 in just about any tournament, and you go, what'd you catch a fish on? Well, I was throwing a bubble gum yum dinger. It's like, okay, what'd you catch yours on? Well, I was throwing a chartreuse spinnerbait. And what'd you catch? I threw a jig. I was throwing a jerkbait. And you think about it, these top 10 guys are all right there, and they're all throwing something different. Very rarely do you hear them all go, I caught them throwing a Nico rig Senko, and green pumpkin over and over and over again. And unless you're at the one bass and it was like, I caught them all on a Frenzy Baits nail, and it was the craziest thing. I sat there and listened to that. I go, Holy smokes! No wonder why they sold out so many times up there. It's like,
Yeah. You
wow.
had the Donald Duck dollar signs in your eyes.
Honestly, though, the nail on Shasta, that place is like probably 50% rock, 50% nails. Like
Yep.
there's more nails broken off in that. And you know, I was like, I took 2 or 3 packs down with me, and then halfway through it, I don't remember that day I passed Bryant in practice, and he's like, just throw the nail. I'm like, I've got like 2 of them. And sure enough, we were staying way north. I'm like, back down to Phil's before they close. Buy nails, back up home to have dinner. Damn nail.
You don't fish them in the Northwest?
I honestly, a shaky head is a California thing. Like, we don't drag around shaky heads up there.
It's a back east thing that ended up here. That's why I brought it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a back east thing.
I got asked that question this morning, doing an article for Bassmaster. We bring all of our stuff. You know, I bring all of my techniques and, you know, what I've seen, my experience from the West Coast back east. And then he asked me, what have you brought east? What did you learn back east that you've brought west? And what does that look like for you? Because, I mean, back there, the fisheries are so much different.
Mm-hmm.
But what techniques besides the shaky head, you know, have you brought from the east and they still work really, really well on the West Coast?
Are you asking Greg the question, or are you?
Yeah, he's fished back east.
Oh,
well, what did you tell the interviewer?
Yeah, that's what I was waiting to hear.
I want to hear what you said.
I thought you were going to tell us what you
said. No. My answer was dumb.
Okay, it's
what was your answer?
Now I want to know.
It was forward facing.
Oh my God,
Brian, you could have done better than that.
That's why I didn't say it. It is true. It is true.
Well,
oh my God.
Yeah. You capitalized on that forward facing for a long time back here, over here, before everybody really caught on. But I don't know. I mean, I remember when punching was a big thing there, and it was nothing here, you know, and yeah, that was a thing. We all did that. But, you know, for the most part, what I brought back was, back over there, it's a ball head, but the ball head doesn't go through grass and it doesn't do wood very well. And so it was like, I really didn't like it. So that's why I ended up carving out this nail, and I was carving them one by one. Literally, I'd pour this one jig, and then I'd get out a file, and I'd get a razor knife, and I'd carve these funky barbs on there, and I was making them like that. And then once I realized that it was that good, and I had a company, and I thought, well, I probably should take them to market. And because they kept disappearing off my boat, because my co-anglers, you know, in the shared weight formats, I'd give them one and they'd catch fish and they'd start disappearing off the deck. And so it was time. I knew it was time to bring my nail out. But other than that, you know, I didn't bring anything else back. You know, I took the swivel head jig back there after I won that Bassmaster on Shasta with it. Because I had made that one. Back in the early 2000s, late 1998, 99, I had made a swiveling head dart head called the Duh Jig, made by Duh Team. And it's an old company. I have all the molds. I have everything that it folded. But I made that swiveling jig, and we never took it to market, but I used them, and I ended up winning Shasta, the B.A.S.S on Shasta with it. And then I caught fish on Oneida with it. I caught fish on Kentucky Lake with it. I caught fish on all over. I ended up taking a 3rd place on the Bassmaster Elites on Grand Lake of the Cherokees with it, that swivel head. And then Tommy Biffle got on my boat when me and Lintner were cleaning it out, and he looked at that and he says, "Is this what you beat my butt with, son?"
No way.
No.
That's how the Biffle bug got made?
Yeah. Yep. exactly
Wow.
it.
True
For a
story.
while,
Like this is
yeah,
true. Like this is true story.
that's 100% true story right
Oh
there.
my God.
Yeah,
Wow.
Lintner. Well, he for a while, it was all about he had he invented this and this, that, and the other, and then he kind of came out, yeah, buddy of mine had this made up, and it was like, but I know for who else was there. Lintner was there. Lintner was there because we were rooming together, and I told him, man, that son of a gun was in my boat, going through my stuff. I said, put that down, Tommy. He's looking at everything. Well, we take back all this other stuff. It's pretty cool.
I would have never thought that that's came from you.
Yep.
And the funny story is, years ago, the very first big tournament that me and my team partner won on the West Coast and the Northwest, we won on a biffle bug.
Mhm.
And my team partner was best friends with Luke Clausen, and so he's like, "You got to try this." And I'm like, "This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen." And we got on this group of smallmouth to the point like you had bruised ribs and broken rods. Like you set the hook so much, like this is the dumbest thing. I don't know how much money we cashed, but that was our first win, and it was a biffle bug. I have boxes of them.
Yep.
And the funny thing was, remember when everybody came out with the tungsten ones, and they weren't as good as the lead ones?
They're not.
Didn't make the same noise. Yeah,
No.
it's crazy.
They,
I can't
that-
believe that that you started that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
No, I got several baits, and I don't mind telling on them. I mean, I don't mind telling on the guys. I got several baits that I designed.
You need a
You're a
patent lawyer.
tinkerer.
Mhm.
I'm a tinkerer. I've been tinkering for a long time. You can't patent those things. You can mess those things. You can go around those patents, 20 ways from
Right.
Sunday.
Mhm.
It's just, and then, how many do you have to sell to make your $15,000 of attorney fees and applications,
To cover the
It's
patent.
just not worth it.
True story. You didn't answer the other question though, and I want to hear it because
What was it?
I'm getting older. Like
Oh,
I'm quite a bit older than Bryant. It's not hard to be older than an
Yeah, you
8-year-old.
are.
But do you think you're in your prime?
oh gosh. I
Because
don't know.
you kind of went on this tangent, but the truth is, like, Bassmaster did this study that your prime is anywhere from 38 to blah blah blah, 48 blah blah blah. But
Really?
I fished against you last year, yeah, because Brandon and I talked about it a little bit. I asked Brandon if he was in his prime, and I think he thought he was a few years prior to having the girls, or whatever. But I think that having the girls also redirected a little of his focus, and people are like, "Oh, he's washing out." I think Brandon Polinick is going to start knocking people's heads in for the next. I think last year pissed him off so much. His prime isn't gone, obviously, but I wonder, do you think you're still in your prime? Last year you
I
didn't miss a
know.
top 10. Did you miss a top 10 last year?
Mm-mm.
I
No.
did when I got DQ'd.
The only one when he got DQ'd, yes. Yeah.
I did when I got DQ'd.
But he hit every other top 10.
What?
No, I don't think I'm in my prime, but I don't think that here's why. I'm a fairly athletic built guy. I mean, and I just shed like 30 pounds just because I was just sitting on the couch eating ice cream and watching TV for the last 2 years. But I dropped 30 pounds here and in the last year. And but even with that, I still outwork most people in the boat. I'm pretty active in the boat. I move around. It's that's one reason why I really like this Bass Cat I'm running in. It's got a huge wide deck and I move around it a lot. It allows me to I can cast different angles. I'm up and down really quick. A lot of times, most of the time, I'm up out of my seat before I really get off pad. Um, I'm very active in the boat, and I'm active out of the boat too. But honestly, I'm not exhausted during the tournaments. Like after the tournament, I take like yesterday, I took most of the day and just kind of hung out, and I was racking weights and racking baits and getting ready, getting them ready to paint, stuff like
Hanging
that.
trophies.
That was hard.
Reorganizing trophies.
Did
Where's that
you see
trophy
how-
at? There it is.
No, I can't see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
right there.
Brian Smith called and Greg was like, I need about at least 12 hours to take care of something first.
How far away are you? Hey, Brant, will you come hold a level for me?
I got to put up a whole new rack for my trophies.
Yeah. Well, the best part about this podcast is every one of us got our asses kicked by Greg. Bryant got his ass kicked the least, and we're making fun of Bryant. So good job, friend. You are expected to do well, and that amount of pressure on a person, like you can't show up to one of these tournaments and do poorly because you will have more ridicule than a bonehead like me. So yeah, you have an extra pressure on you that you have never ceased to amaze me in your fishing
That's
skills.
compliment number 2.
I know,
Mark
but
it
I
down.
got a precursor.
Oh,
You cease to
no,
amaze me everywhere
is a-
else. So
Backhanded. Backhanded.
All right, back to 1.
Yep.
Back to 1.
My answer would be no. Is I don't think I'm in my prime. I think my prime has been spread out. You know what I mean? If I may be on the backside of my prime, I guess I could be still in a little bit of it. But honestly, I don't feel like I'm going anywhere soon. But I know that there'll be a sunset someday, and I know that I want to try and get some things done. You know, I want to try and I want to help. I want to see if we can't move the needle on our fisheries in the West. You know, we still don't have a boat in every garage, and we still have. We're fighting this environment other than the outdoors or fishing environment where fish are friends and not food. And honestly, they're not sacred cows. They're fish, you know, and we're entitled to catch them and eat them if we want. So it's a sport. Got to accept the fact that that's what it is. But um, you know, fish and wildlife seems to think that um, they're a cash cow to them versus a sport fish. So by gosh, you can't kill them in a tournament, but we can knock them in the head and eat them on on our days off. So there's got to be some kind of thing, like up north on the Columbia. It's like there's no limit. Catch them all, kill them all, right?
Yep. Yeah.
It's horrific. It's
What?
crazy. It's
They
horrific.
talked about
because,
doing a bounty on them.
Mhm.
Yeah, like they're a squawfish.
Yeah, they were seriously considering doing a bounty program like squawfish on
On
smallmouth.
probably arguably the best smallmouth fishery on the West Coast.
You want to put a bounty on something? Put a bounty on them dadgum sea lions sitting at the bottom of the dams eating up all your salmon.
We had a show about sea lion hunting. We had to take it down because Hayden Lee was going to go to jail.
Let me back that up. Okay, I took it all back.
that. Oh, I forgot about
Oh, I love Hayden Lee. That dude is so funny. But we're like, we could have a fun game. And
that.
anyways,
I mean, honestly, that's one of our biggest thing with our Andromenous fish is we've got predators in the water that eat these giant fish that that spawn out hundreds and thousands of smolt. Put a bounty on the striper in the Sacramento River, see what happens. Why are we still have a 13-inch or an 18-inch limit on stripers? In California, I sit there and watch them eat salmon smolt. They sit down and wait for the salmon and steelhead and trout to get put into the water, and they just sit there and it just turns into a bloodbath. It's like sharks and the baby seal spawn. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. Yeah, take the limit off of stripers and see what happens.
I have, and we can start to wind this down because we're hitting our time limit. But the new Maloney's thing is a big deal to me. Like it really bothers me because it's the one place I took my wife to before I got into the FLW stuff. Like we visited there as practice for Wild West, and it was
Beautiful
amazing.
Yeah,
yeah,
beautiful.
It's insane that you could tell people they couldn't use this public body of water. When COVID hit, Washington State was the only state in the country that said you couldn't go fishing. Our governor said no fishing. It's dangerous. Get COVID.
That is nuts.
It is nuts. But politicians speak really loudly, but they have no backbone. We had 2 guys in the Tri-Cities start a protest. There were like 35 guys showed up to a boat launch. The news showed up. It was a protest. Like they stood up. They didn't feel like that. They're like, this is dumb. The end result was within 2 weeks, it was off. They just turned it back off. I mean, they had 2 protests that amassed maybe 60 people. Like if we just accept that okay, there's nothing we can do about it, nothing will happen.
Mhm.
So
Right.
I hope that everybody in the Motherlode region organizes and fights back, because obviously that is one of the most crazy, beautiful places in the world to tell people they can't go fishing. Love to be on the Lonies last month.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. For sure. For sure. I agree.
I mean, peaceful protests, Bryant. Don't be
Right.
showing up with all your little head sticks, walking around.
Look,
You're
there's 2 of me.
He just
I can
increased the
get 4 of
numbers.
us.
Yeah.
I can get 4 of
Normally
us.
there's
He's like, I
something
got a
ahead,
4-man
so.
protest.
yeah, that's right. What you guys don't realize is I just made the Alpha BassCast political.
You did.
Oh God. Oh my God.
Oh boy.
The new Sonic
We're gonna have-
rant.
The Sonic rant. I will say though that Greg, you are in your prime.
Yep.
If you are not in your prime, you're on this very low sloping sine wave. So you're at the very top of it. So you're -1.1% off of 100%. That's
Wow,
what
that
my
sounds
take.
engineer talk.
I was gonna say
But
that's his degree talking.
I have
Wow.
there's
Thank
no way
you.
that you make every
Thank you.
top 10 last year, win a tournament. There's no way that your track record that you have right now against the guys that you just beat, arguably the best guys on the West Coast, right? Has there been an organized group of guys on the West Coast as stacked as last week, right? No practice, no nothing. Everybody shows up with their skills, and you beat them not only in keeper count, but you beat them in weight. You're in
And
your
you
prime,
threw
bro.
fish out.
Wow.
You're in
Yeah,
your
I was
prime,
throwing
bro.
big fish out.
And you
Yeah.
were throwing big fish out.
That just cracks me up. I thought about that and I go, man, I don't even know if this is right, but it seems right to me. So I did it.
Amazing.
What the heck?
That's awesome.
I'm glad Dan Fraser showed up because now he's the oldest guy in the group. You know, I'm 63. He's in his 70s. It's like, heck yeah, man. Now I'm not they can't call me the old guy anymore. I'm just a youngster now.
In his prime.
That's awesome. In his prime.
in his prime.
Youngster in his prime.
Greg, I got to tell you a story, and you maybe don't remember it, but this has been a kind of, not only are you an incredible fisherman, but your energy has always been something that I loved seeing on the water. Like, you always have a smile on your face. You always walk around confident and happy. First time I ran into you, we were on the docks at Shasta for a Wild West. And I walked by you and you were coming back after weighing. And I said, hey, Greg, my name's Bo. I'm a big fan of yours. And you looked at me with that big smile on your face and you said, I'm a big fan of me too. And and I love that moment, man. I love the energy that you bring to the West Coast. And I think you inspire a lot of people to go out and do what you do.
Well, good. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. That memory too. That is kind of humorous. That sounds atypical of me just cutting it up and having some fun. Because it is fishing first and foremost. You know what I mean? And the competition is on the water, but when you splash those things in the tank, it's a done deal. You go up there. I went through all that already. I mean, years and years ago, I stressed about it, and like I said, I'll give you a real quick thing. This is from my wife. When I first started, when I was in the club, I would go out and I would have so much fun, find these fish, and I would just come back excited. And I would go out on that club. I would pay my $25 to go out there and do it, and I would just fold under the pressure. And I'd come home and I would just be just an ass, to be honest with you. It's just, there's no other way to say it. You're just grumpy, just an ass. And, did that a few times. And finally she comes home and she goes, hey, or I came home one time and she goes, hey, every time you go out and go pre-fishing, you come back and you're all happy and excited. But every time you come back from a tournament, you're just grumpy. I go, I know. And she goes, I'll give you two choices. I go, what's that? She goes, come back happy or don't come home. I was like, nope, I'm a happy son of a gun. Happy boy. Happy boy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it was a great eye-opening moment, and loved her for it. She has supported me all through everything. I mean, everything through our years together. We had 36 great years, and I finally got to fish a tournament with her, and she looked at me and goes, "Why haven't we done this more? Why didn't I take you up on your offers more?" I go, "I don't know." She goes, "I made a mistake." And I go, "Well, we'll do what we can." And so, yeah, it was a good time. But that's it, man. You got to be happy you're out there. Where else can we go for a weekend? Fish for 50 grand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Man, there's no other place in the world besides this country.
100%. Super cool, man. We'll keep asking you questions, and it'll be midnight, and you'll be mad at us.
So
But
just do another one.
yes, you have to promise to come back
Yes,
on
please. Yeah.
the
I'll do it.
chaos we call the BassCast. And we won't do it around your next win. For crying out loud,
Yeah.
give us a break. Like, get second or third, okay? But we'll have you on the next one. We'll have some, and maybe we'll get some really complex topic for you so that you can really get after Swimbait Johnny and the crew. Because we like to go after the B.S. Vortex. So
I don't mind conflict. I don't mind it. I don't mind bringing it up. Let's look at the other side. There's another side, guys.
Oh, always.
Boy, is there.
Ken Moss said it best. He's like Captain Marvel. Like, it's just good versus evil. He's not wrong.
No.
Or educated versus idiot. One of the.
I love it.
That's amazing.
Well, cool.
Awesome.
Well, thank you, Greg.
All right.
Yeah,
Until
thank you
next
so
time,
much.
we'll see you in Mojave. Bring your liquid IV and your sun shirts, because
Yeah, for sure.
we're gonna get scorched on that one.
Yep.
But thank you again.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate the opportunity just to have fun and BS, and I always love this stuff right here.
Awesome. This was
That's why we
amazing.
do
Greg.
it for sure.
Yep.
Thanks, Craig.
See y'all.
Take care.
Check.
That was our best podcast.
Best podcast ever.
Yep.
That raises the
agree.
bar. That raises the bar.
Look at us.
I think the best sneaky podcast that we have is Jay McNamara's first one, which you can attest, Bo, that one of our friends used that podcast to make the top 10 last weekend. So
He did.
And the funny thing about that podcast, when I talked to Jay, I'm like, Jay, this is the one thing I don't like is we're going to unearth the side of fishing that guys like Bryant probably already know. You may not know you have that mental ability or whatever, but some people don't know they don't have it. And now we're telling them. And so I texted Jay, I said, it's bittersweet to teach the competition these tactics that you've taught us. And he's like, oh, don't worry about it. It's like weightlifting. Because everybody knows it's healthy, but only 1% are going to do it.
That was
He's right?
Yeah.
Like the amount of people that go to the gym and eat healthy and all that kind of stuff. I was just listening to another statistic and it was like 8% of the population, right? That eat vitamins and eat healthy once in a while and go to the gym a few times a week. It's such a small part of the population. So we're going to give away secrets on, how your brain fights against your success. And I'm like, damn it. My competition's going to hear this. And Jay's right. It's a small percentage that'll actually do it.
Yep.
But the guys that do,
Look out.
like our buddy made top 10. Yeah.
Look out.
If you guys want to continue this podcast for the next couple minutes to kind of close it out, you do have to give me a bathroom break.
I got a kid who wants to go to bed.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
Sorry.
Best podcast ever.
Best
So-
podcast ever.
Yeah, we don't need to ruin it.
No, we
let's
will.
end it right now.
We'll just, we'll just poop all over the floor. So,
Yep. Close it out. Right at 100 minutes. Hold on. 14, 13, 12, 11,
Good luck next week,
10,
Brian.
yeah.
Smith. Talk
8,
to you soon.
7, 6,
I'm out of
5,
here. Hang
4.
up.
3, 2, 1. Boom.
Thanks for listening to the Alpha BassCast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to subscribe, follow, and rate us. We'll see you next time.